Hello there, enthusiasts. Vance here. In the last video, we explored a period when car manufacturers seemed determined to outdream one another. The Ford GT90, Volkswagen W12 Nado, Mercedes Vision SLR, Cadillac 16. Machines that imagined futures that hadn't arrived yet. Some of those futures eventually became reality. Others remained fascinating reminders that optimism occasionally has access to a corporate budget. But now, what happens after the dream? Because imagining the future is one thing, reinventing yourself to survive it is something else entirely. And that's where today's story begins. Because some of the most recognizable names in automotive history are attempting something extraordinarily difficult. They are trying to evolve without becoming strangers to the people who made them legendary in the first place. Which sounds simple until you realize history has a vote, and history rarely misses an opportunity to be difficult. Being a legendary car brand sounds fantastic until you realize you're no longer competing against your rivals. You're competing against your own greatest hits. Ferrari doesn't just compete with Lamborghini. Ferrari competes with every Ferrari that came before it. Jaguar doesn't just compete with BMW. It competes with decades of expectations. Audi competes with its own reputation for engineering precision. The higher a brand climbs, the harder it becomes to change direction. Because customers don't just buy products, they buy stories. And once people become attached to a story, changing it becomes surprisingly dangerous. Just ask any television show that killed off a popular character, or any social media platform that moved a button 2 centimeters to the left. Human beings are remarkably adaptable, right up until they're asked to adapt. Most companies look to the future when they're trying to reinvent themselves. Audi went looking for answers in the 1930s, at a time when much of the automotive industry is focused on electrification, software, and increasingly futuristic design. Audi designers have been revisiting one of the most important chapters in the company's history, not to recreate it, not to become trapped by nostalgia, but to reconnect with the ideas that made those machines memorable in the first place. Hidden within Audi's recent design direction are echoes of the legendary Auto Union racing cars that dominated European circuits nearly a century ago. Machines that belonged to an era when motorsport was equal parts engineering, competition, and collective act of optimism. An era so different from today that many of its safe practices will be interpreted as a cry for help. Yet, despite the decades separating them, the underlying philosophy remains surprisingly familiar. Technical ambition, bold ideas, the willingness to attempt something that seems slightly unreasonable, which coincidentally describes most of automotive history. The lesson here is an interesting one. Sometimes reinvention doesn't start by asking, where are we going? Sometimes it starts by asking, who were we before we got here? Because brands most capable of moving forward often spend time looking backward, not because they are trapped by history, but because history occasionally leaves useful clues behind. And as we'll see next, not every manufacturer chooses that path. If Audi's strategy was to reconnect with history, Jaguar's strategy has been something else entirely. Jump and hope the landing works. Because Jaguar finds itself in one of the most difficult positions in the automotive industry. It has heritage, but heritage can be both an asset and a liability. People often say they want brands to evolve. Then evolution arrives, and suddenly everyone becomes an expert in preserving tradition. People who couldn't identify 3 Jaguar models 6 months ago begin discussing the sacred values of the brand with the urgency of constitutional lawyers. It's genuinely impressive and slightly terrifying. The challenge Jaguar faces isn't engineering. Engineers solve problems all the time. The challenge is identity. How much can you change before people stop recognizing you? And perhaps more importantly, how much can you refuse to change before the world leaves you behind? Because standing still feels safe, right up until it isn't. Which brings us to the Ferrari question. And Ferrari may have the hardest challenge of all. Because Ferrari doesn't just sell cars, Ferrari sells emotion. The sound of an engine climbing through the rev range, the theater, the drama, the sense that mechanical compounds are participating in an elaborate performance. For decades, that formula worked brilliantly. Then the industry changed. Now Ferrari faces a question that would have sounded ridiculous 20 years ago. Can an electric Ferrari still feel like a Ferrari? Notice the wording, not can it be fast. Electric vehicles have settled that argument already. The real question is whether it can preserve the emotional experience people associate with the badge. Because performance is measurable, identity isn't. And that's what makes this such a fascinating experiment. Ferrari's challenge isn't building an electric car. Plenty of companies can build electric cars. Ferrari's challenge is building an electric Ferrari. It's attempting to redefine what one of the most recognizable names in the automotive world means: no pressure. At first glance, these stories seem unrelated. An Audi concept inspired by the 1930s, a Jaguar attempting a dramatic reinvention, a Ferrari preparing for an electric future. But they're actually different versions of the same challenge. How do you change without losing yourself? Audi answered by looking backward. Jaguar answered by looking forward. Ferrari is attempting to do both simultaneously, which is considerably harder. It's like renovating a historic building while people are still living inside it. Possible, but every decision makes somebody nervous. The automotive industry has always been obsessed with innovation. Yet, innovation alone has never been enough. Because people don't form emotional connections with technology, they form emotional connections with meaning. That's why certain badges survive for generations. That's why enthusiasts care. And that's why reinvention is so risky. When a legendary brand changes direction, it isn't merely changing products, it's renegotiating its relationship with history. And history is rarely an easy negotiating partner. It remembers everything, especially the mistakes. In the last video, we looked at concept cars that tried to imagine tomorrow. Today, we've looked at what happens when tomorrow finally arrives. Because eventually every manufacturer faces the same choice: preserve the past, chase the future, or somehow attempt both at the same time. And as the stories of Audi, Jaguar, and Ferrari show, that balancing act is often the most ambitious project of all. The future won't be decided solely by horsepower or battery technology or lap times. It will be decided by whether legendary brands can evolve without abandoning the qualities that made them legendary in the first place. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And if you're fascinated by the stories behind automotive icons, forgotten concepts, engineering obsessions, and the moments that reshaped car culture, subscribe. Because there are still plenty of rabbit holes left to explore. And judging by the automotive industry, some of them are only just beginning.